if they can get WoW having more patches, that would be fucking brilliant. It's almost felt like the game's been a bit lacking, and that's what it's like for every live service. But I suppose you think of a game like, say, Destiny 2. I mean, they're just like, hey, there's 4 seasons a year. That's it.
Yeah.
And, you know, the players can always expect that. In the same way than FF14, they know roughly 3 patches a year is what they're going to get. I think it's important that people just, you know, have that that expectation, right?
Yeah, I think some of it's the regularity, but some of it's also, I mean, the regularity and the idea of responsiveness is kind of there. Because you can stumble, right? You're allowed to stumble as a live service company. As long as your core product's good, your experiments and outside are allowed to be a little bit, to use a word you used earlier, scuffy, maybe a bit scuffed, maybe a bit off the rails. But as long as you, like, people know, okay, well, we're going to have that fixed soon. And it's not that. We'll have the immediate fix as possible, and then we'll get it sorted soon enough. That's all it really needs. People need to have faith in the product. And that's what, like, World of Warcraft always had that. That's what did Legion super well. Now, I'm not as sure on the, obviously I've not seen the actual data for Legion, but I'm sure, you know, it was relatively stable for World of Warcraft expansion because of that patch cadence. I'm sure it also had massive beginning of expansion and then late expansion, like boosts. But the idea of just, if people can expect some game, then they'll be happy to come back and they'll be happy to take time off. That's the thing where I think, because, well, it's weird, because you were saying earlier about, like, World of Warcraft matching, like, FF or something in the kind of 3 patches a year, and that would be nice, but World of Warcraft does have, like, the tail of content for hardcore players, so it's interesting to see if they could maybe, if they could go for one every, like, 4.5 or 5 months, and make them a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer, it might work more. But I suppose we'll see what their plans are for Dragonflight. Because it's that thing of, do you go for rapid content and there's not a whole pile in it? Or do you go for take a bit of time, a little bit of time, emphasis little, and then make them feel a little bit more, hey, here's some actual stuff. I think, do you want your patch to feel like, hey, here's some new content that you expect, or do you want it to be, get ready for what you're about to play, because it fucking kicks ass.
Yeah, that one that's going to be just something where we'll need to know, like, what does a 3-month patch look like versus a 5-month. Yeah. One thing on this super chat from Kevin Valdez. Thank you, Kevin, who said, Blizzard should provide a roadmap for the expansion before launch. We should know 10.1's name and target month. We should know what quarter 10.2 is and half, you know, for 10.3 and that it exists, things like that. Yeah. I agree with you. I think
I would disagree with the name just because that's fair. Necessary. But they could show question marks and say they know what it is, but they're not telling us.
So broadly speaking, the idea of a roadmap I think would make a lot of sense. It would also make business sense. It would instill a bit more confidence. It's one of those things where, like, a roadmap can either be an admission of weakness or a show of strength. Yeah. So many instances of games that have a messy launch, and then they're like, fuck, look at our roadmap. It's going to be okay. We have a roadmap.
Battlefield.
Yeah. they do that. Versus a game that's like, hey, it's coming out. And by the way, here's the roadmap. So look at all this content you can expect. Take Destiny 2.
Yeah.
That's a game that's kind of always had not always, but I mean in recent times with it's just, there are 4 seasons. That's it.
We have our seasons planned.
Yeah, there you go. There'll always be content. So yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. They should definitely have a roadmap. I don't anticipate a particularly negative launch, so waiting until a little bit later to do the roadmap also would not hurt them if they maybe just want a nice boost at the start of the next year.
It's that weird thing where we do have to contend with it being Blizzard definitely want to do us right and show everything for us right, but also they do have to play the game of marketing. Yeah. And a roadmap is not particularly effective marketing versus a big expansion marketing beat, where if they have to take time out to go, hey, here's the roadmap, can we get all these features ironed in stone? I imagine they're very much getting to the point where they're still like crunching in this expansion. So I'm assuming they need to go, okay, well, expansion's ready to launch. Okay, take a breather. Now, like, get 10.1 super in stone, you know, get a release date sorted instead of going too aggressive at a time, at least for now. I'd like to see more timing in future, Like I'd like to see when 10.1 comes out, I'd like to see them say, oh yeah, 10.2 will be X. Or, you know, you can expect it here. I'd like to see a little bit more of that. But it is down to getting each step right. And also not getting all their marketing beats kind of scupped. That's where I think like FF's model's pretty good, where it's reliable in terms of what content's coming out, so people know what's going to be in there. They can sneak surprises in if they want, but they also have like a little kind of narrative. Yeah, here it is in the like part 1 and part 2 of the live letters, where we don't really know what's in 6.3, but then there'll be a live letter part 2 closer to it, and they'll go, hey, here's time for the narrative marketing hype around this in the multiple stages. So I think that's a kind of cadence that would work instead of, you know, throwing everything up in one go, I think. But at the same time, a roadmap would be, I guess it's this way, where if there's no precedent set, you want a roadmap. But if there's a precedent set for it'll be every 3 or 4 months, then people will be happy. And I think Blizzard are probably more inclined, because they did this with Overwatch, where they did set up the timeline. So I'm assuming they don't want to have constant roadmaps. They want to go, yeah, we'll have you content every like, was it 9 weeks? It's like, I imagine Blizzard or the WoW team will do the same thing of, hey, you can patch every 4 months, or maybe it'll take 6. But the idea of not having to set it in stone, having it be assumed, because that feels a little bit more natural to people.